Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. This is a new presentation from www.central-mosque.com and the Humble Heart YouTube channel. The topic is, when is Eid-Adha 2022? Before I turn to my topic, throughout this presentation in this top right hand corner, you can click and watch a earlier presentation about CCD imaging. So I've tried to explain in quite simple terms as best as I can as to what is CCD imaging and why it is not permissible to use CCD imaging for moon sighting. Before I turn to my topic, let me just set a few principles beforehand. It is the Islamic practice. It is extracted from the Qur'an and the Sunnah for over 1400 years, and all 12 Islamic months begin the same way. On the 29th of each Islamic month, after sunset, Muslims go and try to sight the moon. If the moon is sighted and the scholars accept that testimony, the new Islamic month begins. If the moon is not sighted, then the new Islamic month begins the next day after sunset, i.e., 30 days are completed. This has been a practice for all 12 months, no exclusion whether it is Ramadan or Muharram or Rabiul Awwal or Dhul-Hijjah, whichever month it is the same practice. The second practice of Muslims for over 1400 years, extracted from the Quran and the Sunnah, is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded us to fast on the day of Dhul-Hijjah. Sorry, the day of Arafat. But the day of Arafat is 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, and it is local according to your local sighting. So if you are living in Karachi, then you will fast on the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah and not on the day Arafat is in Saudi Arabia. If you're in Chicago, the same thing. You will fast on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah according to you. If you're in New Zealand, you will fast on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Consequently, Eid-ul-Adha is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. None of these dates are actually connected to the actual event of Arafat in Saudi Arabia. For over 1400 years in Islam, there's been no precedence where Muslims sent out riders or looking for information to try to match their local sighting with the day of Arafat in Saudi Arabia. There's no evidence of that whatsoever for 1400 years. And by the way, it's possible. Take a look at these days. This is 9th of Dhul Hijjah. So Muslims who lived, close to the Middle East could have sent very fast riders to find out, when was the moon sighting in Makkah and try to rig their dates according to that. No. Whatever 9th of Dhul Hijjah is in your locality is the day you fast for. What Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, fast of Arafah, and Eid-ul-Adha is the next day. Towards the end of this presentation, I will attach a video where a scholar in Haram answers that question very, very clearly. Now, why do I then make these videos if the Islamic months in Islam are based on moon sighting? The reason being is people need to book their vacations, their holidays, their educational institutions, madrasas, schools, etc., which contact me as to how they should book their holidays, etc. The mosques, they have to plan for Eid Salah, so they also ask when it's possibility, the dates, that kind of stuff. That's the reason why I make these videos. So in Islam, all 12 months start with the sighting of the moon. There are countries which blatantly don't do that. Number one, Turkey. There is no moon sighting system in Turkey whatsoever. For years ago, they've announced that their Eid-ul-Adha in 2022, it is going to be on 9th of July 2022. There's no moon sighting. It's been announced a long time ago, and that's the way it is. Next is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia does not have a 12 monthly moon sighting system at all. So it is completely illogical to even say that on some months you will sight the moon and the other ones you don't, because as I said, in Islam you're supposed to sight the moon on the 29th. How would you do that if you consistently don't sight the moon every single month? So Saudi Arabia will attempt to sight the moon on the 29th of Dhul-Qa'dah, but they have already announced in Al-Qura calendar and everywhere else that it is likely that their Eid-ul-Adha is going to fall on the 9th of July 2022 as well. I say likely because the only way this can go wrong is if there's a sandstorm or visibility is absolutely poor or something else can go wrong, because they will invent the moon. And here's a video right here that you can watch CCD as to how Saudi Arabia does that. There is absolutely no chance of this moon being sighted in Saudi Arabia on the 29th of June using telescope, using binoculars, using the most advanced technology available. The only way they can rig this is by using CCD. When Saudi Arabia announced the sighting of the moon and when Eid-ul-Adha is announced on the 9th of July, other Middle East or Arabic speaking countries simply follow Saudi Arabia. So I will get messages and you'll see on Facebook people saying, look, UAE is doing that, or XYZ is doing, Kuwait is doing that. My brothers and sisters, UAE, Kuwait, etc. are doing it not because they've sighted the moon, they simply follow Saudi Arabia. That's the way the Middle East works. Now, what should you do in this situation? You should follow the Qur'an and the Sunnah. You should follow the established practice of Muslims and do the right thing and follow moon sighting. However, if you are like me, stuck in countries like I was in for Eid al-Fitr and now possibly for Eid al-Adha, where I have no choice but to follow the rigged system, then the commandment of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, the people said the fast is the day the people fast, the breaking of the fast is the day when people break their fast, and the sacrifice is the day the people sacrifice. So even though you know that the system is wrong and the date is wrong, if you're stuck in a place like me where hundreds and hundreds of miles, I have no choice but to follow the wrong date, then you do that. When I am in UK, then majority of the Muslims in UK, let me repeat, majority of the Muslims in UK, I'm not talking about majority of Salafis or majority of Deobandis, I'm saying majority of the Muslims in UK do not follow Saudi Arabia. So in each and every locality there are tons of mosques, or there are mosques available, or you can drive to a neighboring city or something like that to offer your salah on the right day, and that's what you do, or somewhere else for that matter. But if you're stuck like me in communities where you have no choice and your entire country is doing the wrong thing, then you have to submit to the commandment of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot have your own Eid, you cannot have your own Udhiyah, you cannot have your own Qurbani, but you have to submit to the commandment of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and start your Ramadan on the wrong day knowingly, finish your Ramadan on the wrong day, and make your sacrifice on the wrong day. That's the way it is. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and not our own logic. So what happens on the 29th of June 2022? This moon cannot be sighted anywhere on the globe apart from the west coast of the United States. It is possible, if the weather conditions are good, that it can be sighted in the state of California. So US and Canada, it is possible that they could have Eid because of moon sighting in California. It cannot be sighted elsewhere. The next day, on the 30th of June 2022, this moon can be easily sighted in other parts of the world. So which day does Eid al-Adha fall on? Turkey, 9th of July 2022, because there's no moon sighting system and it is rigged. Saudi Arabia, more than likely 9th of July 2022, based on CCD imaging or some other claim of moon sighting. The only way this can go wrong is if weather conditions are bad, or something happens and they happen to shift it. It is possible, but not likely. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Middle East, 9th of July, because they blindly follow Saudi Arabia. Parts of Africa, and I have contacts with leading people who are into moon sighting and making decisions, and they do follow Saudi Arabia, but they claim bogus sighting just to give an impression that they're not following Saudi Arabia. The same goes for Afghanistan, Taliban, or north of Pakistan in Peshawar, etc., places like that, where they are actually following Saudi Arabia, but they claim to invent bogus sighting. 22 people sighted the moon, etc. Brothers and sisters, there's no chance in Asia or Middle East or Africa that this moon can be sighted using any technology acceptable to Sharia. The only way Saudi Arabia is going to do that is using CCD, etc. Now, it is possible that this moon can be sighted in California. That's why this is the only column in this table, which is green. And US and Canada can have Eid al-Adha on the 9th of July 2022 if the moon is sighted in California. Other parts of Africa, South Africa, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, etc., it will be on the 10th of July because of moon sighting. Other parts of Asia, 10th of July because of moon sighting. Australasia, it is possible in some parts of Australia if the weather and conditions are perfect for this moon to be sighted. Otherwise, the next day, making Eidul-Adha on 11th of July 2022. You have noticed that I've made that column red. The reason I've made that red is if Eidul-Adha in Australasia is on 11th of July, then yes, there could be a 2-day difference between them and Saudi Arabia, and it is not because they've done anything wrong. It's because Saudi Arabia, keeps on rigging the system. So, people will, in these countries, people say, how come we have a 2-day difference, and not realize that they're doing the right thing. It's Saudi Arabia with their system is rigged and causing confusion throughout the ummah. Now, some people are mistaken that what they do is they actually fast just on the 9th. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an has says, وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. These 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah, all 10 days are blessed, my brothers and sisters. So as soon as you start the month of Dhul-Hijjah, please increase your acts of worship. Fast, you can fast all 9 days. You can make salah, you can read the Qur'an, any good deeds, you can give charity, anything. And please make dua for yourselves, your family, your friends, and this entire ummah. And remember that all of those days of the Hijjah are blessed. Now I turn you over to the last part of this video where the scholar in Haram is answering the explicit question that your 9th of Dhul Hijjah is local, your Eid is on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, local. You don't need to tie it to the day of Arafat in Saudi Arabia. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
يا قصدك يوم أخونا يسأل عن صوم يوم عرفة في سائر الأمصار إذا كانت الرؤية مخالفة عن الرؤية في المملكة هنا للحجاج. يعني مثل يكون مثلا يوم عرفة موافق مثلا يوم الاثنين والعيد يوم الثلاثاء ويكون يوم عرفة مثلا مثل ما ذكر في المغرب يوم الثلاثاء يوافق يوم العيد والاربعاء هو العيد. هل نوافق أهل مكة فنصوم عرفة الموافق لأهل مكة والعيد يكون بعيد، أو نصوم يوم الثلاثاء الذي هو عندنا يوافق يوم عرفة والعيد يوم الثلاثاء؟ نقول الصحيح أنكم تصومون على رؤيتكم لكل أهل بلد رؤية. في يوم عرفة في المغرب مثلا إذا مثلا رؤي الهلال في المملكة هنا ورؤي في المغرب واختلفت الرؤية، مثلا تأخرت الرؤية مثلا، في هذه الحالة كل بلد يتبعون رؤيتهم. فإذا رؤي في المغرب مثلا يوم الثلاثاء، إذا كان يوم عرفة يوم الثلاثاء، وفي مكة عرفة يوم الاثنين والعيد في مكة يوم الثلاثاء والعيد في المغرب يوم الأربعاء، فنقول تصومون يوم الثلاثاء ويكون يوم عرفة حقكم وفضله يوم الثلاثاء، والعيد عندكم يوم الأربعاء. هذا هو المشروع، لأن اختلاف المطالب معتبر. كما نقول أنكم تصومون رمضان برؤيتكم، فلأهل كل بلد رؤيته، إلا لو فرض أن الرؤية اتحدت وهذا بعيد ولا يكاد يقع، ثم لا حاجة إلى اتحاد الرؤية كما قال أهل العلم، لا حاجة اتحاد الرؤية ولا لازم لها في الحقيقة. وهذا هو الذي عليه الصحابة رضي الله عنهم، كل يصوم ولا يضر. ولم يزل المسلمون منذ أكثر من 14 قرن والناس يصومون رمضان، وكذلك في أيام الحج أهل مكة على صومهم في الحجاج، وأهل مكة في صوم في رمضان، وكذلك سائر الأمصار على رؤيتهم. لكل أهل بلد رؤيتهم، وتقدم التوبيب أن لأهل كل بلد رؤيتهم على حديث ابن عباس في قصة عكرمة لما أرسلته كريب لما أرسلته أم الفضل رضي الله عنها في حاجتها إلى معاوية. فهذا هو الصحيح، وهذا هو الذي يرى عليه الصحابة. ووقع خلاف في مثل هذا، فتصومون يوم عرفة الذي هو يوم التاسع الذي عندكم، وهو يوم عرفة في حقكم. هذا هو الأكمل، والأفضل، وهذا يجري في أشياء كثيرة. نعم.